Hello all, welcome back to this series of keynote modeling tutorial sessions. We've now reached episode 6, where we are about to model the surfaces making up this frame around the buttons here. Last time we focused on the curves outlining this frame. Let's have a look at it in the top view. Press F5 and see what we got here. Since then, I've done some smaller adjustments. I'm gonna hide the surfaces here so that we can clearly see the curves. Also bring on some transparency to our canvas image, like so. As you can see, this circle is not quite matching the actual LED on the sketch. The reason for that is that I wanted it to be concentric with the outer contour here, which I defined like this, which is perfectly fine to do, especially if it's your own design. And this is Daniel's design. I'm sure he doesn't mind. Also, a small detail, I've added some fillet curves to these curves right here. And in order to do so, I had to, and in fact, we're going to replace those now. I had to break up these curves into two because it just didn't know where this, in which corner to make the fillet. So I'm going to pick these and hit delete, like so, hide the canvas and replace them with just 1 degree 1 curve, which is a line like that. And then go next curve and do the same thing down here. So I hit Control Alt to snap it onto that little fillet I have there. And the same thing in the other end. Now we have some nice clean curves there. Also, hide the control vertices for now because we don't need those, and the edit points as well. Now we have a set of clean curves defining our frame here. And the way we're going to go about doing this is by using a command called offset. If we look at the canvas again, it seems like the frame is sticking up slightly from the top surface of the key knob. And I want to mimic that in my 3D model. And the way to do that is to actually use the top surface, but raise it slightly above the original surface. And the way to do that is using a command called offset. Now, an offset creates a geometry from the original geometry at a constant distance. It works for curves on surface, and also for surfaces. So let's do that. I'm going to pick the surface like that, go to Object Edit, and then Offset, and also click on the Options box right there. And here we have a few settings. The only thing we really need to worry about now is the actual distance here. And the distance is here set to 0.5 millimeter, which is fine. I don't want it to stick out too far from the body of the key knob. So I'm gonna go with 0.5 and hit enter. And that gives me a surface. Let's shade this up and see what it does. It gave me a surface that is at any point 0.5 millimeters from the original top surface on the key knob. And this in turn is going to make out the top surface of my frame here. Only problem now is that it seemed to have kept the trimmings from the original surface, and this is not the shape I want for my frame. So I'm gonna untrim this surface. So I go pick surface and untrim, and make sure I also click the options box to check that all is checked here. So I want all the different trim stages to be undone when I hit go. And this gives me the original surface with all the curves on surfaces used for trimming. And these I do not want anymore. So I'm gonna select them by going pick curve on surface and draw a big square around the entire geometry and hit delete. This now is our top surface for the frame. The next step here is to bring up the pretty curves we made in the last session, meaning these. So I want to bring them up onto this surface in order to trim it. And the way to do that is to use the command project. So I'm going to go project and check the options box here because it's really critical in which direction you send these curves to hit the surface here when projecting them. In this case, I want to send them straight up in the Z direction. You can see the direction down here. Straight up is Z, lengthwise in the geometry this way. Oops. In the geometry is this way, and sideways X is this way. So Z seems to be fine. I then pick my surface and then go with either a spacebar or press this little button down here. And then it's time to start picking my curves I want to project. So I pick this one, that small fillet, the straight section, the circular section, the straight one, and the other fillet like that. Also, I'm going to bring with me this circle and obviously these parts as well. Finally, that little fillet. Now watch what happens when I hit project. That brought my curves up onto this surface, and my curves then became curves on surface, which we need in order to trim the surface. So let's do that. I go trim, hit the surface, and the area I want to keep like that. Okay, so let's see what we got now. Well, I got my key knob still intact, but the green one you see here is now 0.5 millimeter offset from the top surface of the key knob. And the next step now is to create a flange that goes down and connects my frame with the top surface here. And the way to do that is to use a command called multi-surface draft. And I'm going to show you how that works in just 1 second. Let's get rid of our curves. They're kind of disturbing now, aren't they? So I'm going to hide those in this curves layer, like so. We could also probably turn off the surfaces. The only thing we see now is this surface right here, our frame surface. So we're going to put a flange around the outer edge, inside the hole, and also inside these two holes or cavities that will later on be filled with the buttons. And we go to multi-surface draft and hit the options box there and see what we got. Well, we got a few settings here. We don't need to worry about most of them, but what we do want to worry about is the length of this flange in 1 millimeter. I would probably want that to be at least 2 millimeters. Let's see if that works. 1.5. So we make sure that our flange actually intersects with the top surface of the key knob. And the way this works, I'm going to hit one of the edges here. And it's pretty much self-explanatory. You can see now we have an angle here of 15 degrees towards the surface, or actually the Z vector here. But it goes inwards, and I want that one to be outwards. So I'm going to change that angle to minus 15 degrees and see what that does. That looks kind of nice. And I can, in fact, go all the way around this edge here by clicking the edges one by one. And finally, a little fillet right there. So we'll take a look at this from the top view now. We'll pick nothing. We can see now we've created an angled flange around this contour here. So let's do that for the other edges as well. I'm going to click that one and check the angle, and that's the wrong way too. So in this case, I need to change the angle to 15 degrees, like so. And keep going next on this one, which seems to have the correct angle now. So I click all of the edges all the way around. See how it looks down there? Oh, yeah, it's tight, but it made it. And we could probably include this one as well. Let's hope we have, no, that did not have the correct angle. So I'm going to go next and then click on these edges. Oops. There you go. And finally, that one. And there we have our flanges. Let's have a look at this with all of the geometry. So I'm going to turn on surfaces here and shade the entire thing up. And as you can see, our newly created flange is clearly sticking down into the top surface. We're going to trim those in a little bit. But first, I want to round off all of these sharp edges on our frame. So let's do that. Get rid of the body. And I'm going to try using surfaces round and just draw a big box around all of the geometry here and hit accept and see what that does. 0.4 might be good. We could try it. Look at that. It is now rounded off. I'm going to go toggle model. Rounded off all of the edges. Just one click of a button. And this is really the strength. When it works with the round tool, you can pick multiple edges and surfaces just by drawing a box around them. And when it works, it's fantastic. When it doesn't, it's frustrating. So you need also to know about the other tools that we discussed earlier, such as surface fillet, for instance. And there we have it. We have our frame done for the key knob here. Let's bring out the other geometry once more and see what we got. Starting to look rather nice. So what we have left here to do now is to trim the surfaces. I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to bore you with that in this film. We've said enough about surface trimming. And when we come back, we'll start working on the actual buttons here. Okay, so thank you for listening. See you soon.